After 6 long months, we are finally back here on Charting with Dill, and as always, I'm your host, Dylan McKercher. Like I said, it's been a while, not only due to school not being in session, but because COVID-19 was running rampant and theaters shut down nationwide on March 16th, therefore meaning no new box office numbers to report on. But theaters started opening up where they were safe to domestically on August 20th, and finally this previous weekend, we had our first major blockbuster hit the screens. Armed with only one word, Tenet, and fighting for the survival of the entire world, the protagonist journeys through a twilight world of international espionage on a mission that will unfold in something beyond real time. Not time travel, inversion. With a cast including John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, Elizabeth Debicki, and Kenneth Branagh, Christopher Nolan's 11th film opened up in 2,810 theaters. And that number may sound a little weird because if we take a look at this year's top opening weekend, the Will Smith and Martin Lawrence action comedy Bad Boys for Life opened in 3,775 theaters, earning roughly $73 million, while the Robert Downey Jr. starring film Dolittle opened in 4,155 theaters, both on the Martin Luther King Jr. 4-day weekend. Tenet elected not to show at all in markets where brick-and-mortar theaters are not open, which means Tenet did not show in drive-ins at all, which to me seems crazy on Warner Brothers' part. Why wouldn't you want to have Tenet on as many screens as possible? And personally, I think that meant they left a lot of money on the table in terms of Tenet's release. With all that being said, Tenet opened with $20.2 million over the 4-day weekend to top the charts. And taking a look at the rest of the top 5, it's pretty obvious. Even with a solid number of theaters reopening across the nation, the audience has not returned, with 2 films in the top 5 failing to reach just $1 million. The New Mutants drops 58% after taking the crown last weekend, earning $3.6 million, with the film that opened simultaneously with the theater reopening, Russell Crowe's Unhinged, earning $2.2 million in its 4th week of release. Then 4th and 5th place showcase interesting results, with Bill and Ted Face the Music in 4th earning just about $809,000, while also being available on premium home video at the same time, while SpongeBob Sponge on the Run rounds up our top 5 with showings only from our neighbors up north, as the SpongeBob flick is only showing in 304 Canadian theaters, while its US release date has been pushed entirely to 2021 on premium home video. Now let's take a look at the all-time top 5 for Labor Day weekend, which many thought Tenet would top heading into the weekend. However, falls just about $10 million shy of our top place, Halloween. Rob Zombie's 2007 Halloween remake racked in $30.5 million all the way back in 2007, falling just $1 million shy behind second place of 2012's The Possession. While it just missed out on second, it barely edged out 2005's Transporter 2 by less than $1,000 for third place. And Tenet's $20.2 million may not be an accurate representation of its 4-day weekend. Warner Bros. Has yet to release the final 4-day numbers, so if they put out the new numbers, it could have easily moved into second place, but at the same time could have easily moved to 4th. And finally, we return to 2020's top 10 films domestically, and we haven't checked this out since March, so that may be a little bit of a refresher to some of y'all, but what has even come out in 2020? But there's some minor changes with each new release, adding some additional change from the drive-in since the last time we checked it out. And still reigning as the king of 2020, we got Bad Boys for Life with $204.4 million, while Sonic is trailing just in second by about $50 million. If theaters did not close, Sonic could have maybe become the top grossing film domestically. Then Harley Quinn and Dolittle track behind them, and as we see our first switch on the chart being The Invisible Man, scaring away the Call of the Wild for the 5th spot. If COVID didn't come around, I personally believe that The Invisible Man would have easily broken that $100 million barrier. And speaking of a film whose box office was tainted by COVID-19, we have Disney Pixar's Onward. Onward released 2 weeks before the COVID-19 shutdown and was the first film to have its opening weekend heavily affected by the looming COVID breakout. And rounding out the top 10, we have The Gentleman, Fantasy Island, and Like a Boss, and I went ahead and threw Tenet onto the chart to see how far it was off. As you can see, it was just $2 million down in 13th, which if Warner Bros. Puts out the numbers and they were higher than expected, Tenet could easily break onto this chart in 10th or maybe even 9th if it's lucky. However, check back next week to see if Tenet can revert time and reverse its course on the domestic front, or will Nolan's newest be stuck in a never-ending loop of disappointing returns. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Rotunda Studios content. Until next time, this is Dill, signing off.